Hello everyone, this is Laura from Astropositive. And here we are at the end of 2025. 2026 is knocking on our door, and I wanted to do this video to outline the major influences that will be affecting us during next year. Forewarned is forearmed, as they say. So we will look together at the planetary movements that will happen in 2026, the configurations that those planets will make, and how all these will affect each sign in turn. 2025 has been a rough year. I don't think you'll disagree. The overall taste was that of an end of an era. Things that were stable in our lives have been slipping from our grasp, and we were all left to wonder what is next, where to head to. We were left to our own devices and to devise a reason and a way to move forward. Many of us have been feeling very tired and confused, perhaps, and maybe tempted to give up on what felt like a struggle. And all this is very much in tune with this current Saturn-Neptune conjunction that has been haunting us since roughly the spring of 2025. And that conjunction was in a state of flux, you know. The two planets were slowly coming together, then drifting apart. They will come together for good in February 2026 at 0 degrees Aries. Then Saturn will overtake Neptune and move faster through Aries. But anyway, this is a major astrological event. We could see for ourselves how the proximity of these two already manifested in our lives. Saturn, for one, represents, as we know, obstacles, delays. It behaves like a strict schoolmaster who wants us to strive for better grades. It throws tests in our way. With Saturn, nothing comes easy. It's laborious. The result has to be won through hard work. But once we have put in the effort, we have proved our worth and our diligence, we are rewarded with long-lasting and real results. Saturn works on the material plane. Matter, as we can feel, is dense, it's heavy, it has inertia. It takes effort to process and move. But its rewards are also tangible. With Saturn, we get a reality check. We have to descend into the here and now and do what we can, with what we have where we are, as they say. Neptune, on the other hand, is dwelling in the clouds. It's a lofty influence that at its best is showering us with idealistic good intentions, with inspiration that's directly downloaded from the muses. And it connects us with the divine, the spiritual. It expands our imagination. It's also softening us. It opens the gates to our heart and soul, so we can become, with Neptune, a bit oversensitive. On the downside, it tends to dissolve the existing reality, to undermine anything solid. It makes it hard to know what we can rely on anymore. It can create disappointment and disillusionment, like in a hall of distorting mirrors, where the real and the fanciful can be told apart. Neptune is all about flowing, shifting, ethereal, energy, like a fog that dims the light. So under its influence, we don't feel in peak shape, and may be a little lost. Feeling our way out and in the process bumping into things, only to find out that it was not the right direction after all. So one can easily put two and two together and see why a Saturn-Neptune combination can be tricky to navigate. Well, these planets meet each other every 35 to 36 years, in a different sign each time. History repeats itself, as goes the saying, so it's worth looking at previous conjunctions and how they played themselves out. I usually don't tend to speak about worldly affairs. This is the domain of mundane astrology, and I prefer personally to describe things from the standpoint of the individual rather than the collective. Nonetheless, what happens to society at large also affects our individual lives. So it's important to look back in history and draw some lessons from it. So the most recent conjunctions occurred in 1989, in 1953, and in 1917. So, like this, they were spanning the whole of the last century. Each time Saturn and Neptune were meeting, we could see that some war was going on at the time. Well, this may be an artifact because this can be due to the fact that at all times there are some wars going on somewhere. But it often is about ending a war or a state of conflict. In 1989, for instance, what the world witnessed was the fall of the Berlin Wall and the dissolution of the communist bloc. In 1953, there was the end of the Korean War. In 1917, US entered World War I. And actually with previous conjunctions that happened a long time ago, like in 1594, there was the end of religious wars. There is this motif repeating itself, that it's the end of a conflict, a military conflict. On the other hand, what's interesting is that at least the last three conjunctions, Saturn-Neptune conjunctions, have deep links to Russian history, to Russia and USSR. Because in 1917, there was the Bolshevik Revolution. In 1953, there was the death of Stalin. In 1989, there was the beginning of the dissolution of the USSR with the fall of the communist bloc. So the effects of this Saturn-Neptune conjunction can vary also with the sign it is in. Like, for instance, when it was in Taurus, there was the Paris crack. In Capricorn, in 1989, there was the fall of communism, which means well-established institutional authority. Last time it was in Aries, for instance, it was a much more martial state of affairs in 1703 with the Spanish Succession War and the Great Northern War in Scandinavia. Last time Neptune was in Aries, in 1861, there was the start of the American Civil War. So, in my opinion, this conjunction that we will witness in February 2026 might have to do with ending a military conflict, possibly the Ukraine war, or it might see the end of a military association. So I think NATO is actually quite under threat right now. Or it might mean actually a new chapter for Russia, again, possibly depending on the outcome of the Ukraine war. In short, we can expect an ending, a dissolution of a state of affairs on a massive scale. Pisces, the sign that Saturn and Neptune are right now, is the last sign of the zodiac, and Saturn and Neptune are just leaving it. They will stand on the doorstep to a new major cycle at 0 degrees Aries that is born out of disillusionment with the past. Well, in Aries, there is a strong notion of a fiery, martial new beginning. So we may fear that the peace established with that dissolution won't be here for long. In this context, we should also look at the other planets that are crossing a sign and a sign cusp. So, like, for instance, Uranus, that will be at 0 degrees Gemini in May, actually, 2026. With Uranus, we can expect turbulence in the area represented by its sign. So when Uranus was in Taurus, in 2025, for instance, and before, we discovered basically limits to our resources, material shortages like oil, gas, metals, even drinking water in some places. Overall, global economy started slowing down due to a lack of fuel. Prices went up in many countries, and we saw inflation. We had to come to terms basically with the fact that there might not be enough of everything for everyone to go around, and humanity might need to temper its appetites. Now Uranus is going in Gemini, so the field of global communication, the flow of information, will be affected. What comes to mind is the question of artificial intelligence. Uranus is a revolutionary planet that is bringing abrupt change, and we can safely speak of an artificial intelligence revolution that is upon us, as Uranus has already taken its first steps in Gemini in 2025. Information technology definitely has a role to play in the global transformation that we will witness in 2026. Another outstanding feature of this year, that is the coming year, is this triangle that is formed by the heavy planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Neptune and Pluto have been in a sextile since several decades. That was a bit on and off. But now Uranus has entered the configuration, and it is in a harmonious position. This configuration has been called the talent triangle, two sextiles united by a trine. This is like a reservoir of potential, as these three planets are all favorably oriented towards one another, and they are supportive of one another. They are able to make the most of their talents, therefore. Pluto in reformist Aquarius, a sign that readily embraces scientific and technological progress, and is supported by Neptune in Aries, which is imagination in action, and Uranus in Gemini, which is revolutionary ideas. We can trust that major advances will be made, and for the time being, we have only seen the infancy of artificial intelligence. We barely touched the surface of what is possible and will be developed in the years to come. And 2026 promises to be such a year. One other planet will actually move from one sign to another, and this is Jupiter. Jupiter is the great benefic, as we know. With Jupiter, the area of life described by the sign it's in, and depending on the natal chart of each individual, the house it falls in, is receiving this benefic influx. Well, to tell the truth, things are never so simple, so we know sometimes we can have too much of a good thing. Jupiter is expansion, so wherever he falls in, he's bringing more of that specific thing. Whether this turns out good or bad is largely depending on its overall situation, the aspects that it's making with respect to the rest of the chart. Jupiter in whatever house or sign can represent sheer good luck, even though probably it won't amount to winning the lottery. It certainly stands for an optimistic, conquering outlook on life that is already setting the scene for success. Jupiter spends roughly 1 year in each sign. In 2026, it will start the year in Cancer, and where he is actually right now. And in the middle of summer, it will cross over to Leo. For the time he will be in Cancer, Jupiter will be concerned, as it is right now, with matters of home, roots, family, and nurturing. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, so the homey atmosphere suits him just fine. It has a warm, steady, welcoming side to it, so that just encourages more growth. Expansion in these domains can bring, for instance, like real estate investment, upgrading your home, fixing up things concerning your home and your house. You might feel the urge to beautify your home surroundings, for instance, or maybe you will feel like reconnecting with your wider family or strengthen the ties with your parents. The idea of the past, the continuity between generations, genealogy, all seem more attractive. One might even start a collection, because Cancerians are quite fond of collecting things, and with Jupiter there, it will expand quite quickly. We may find ourselves straying down, memory lane, because also Cancer is connected with the past, and dig up those old photo albums, for instance. Actually, cooking might be an even popular pastime, because we might treat ourselves to a gastronomic experience every now and then. Cancer is also concerned with cooking and food. We might have friends over to display our culinary skills. Domestic activities overall will hold extra appeal in the first half of the year. In the second half of the year, Jupiter in Leo will shine brightly. We will be encouraged to go out more, have fun, mingle. The message here is to try and laugh a bit of ourselves too. Beware of taking ourselves too seriously. A bit of levity will help everyone relax and enjoy themselves. There's nothing like a little sense of humor, can't improve. Playfulness and taking chances also will be rewarded. We might receive gratification and recognition of our merits. The overall vibe will feel more open, more joyful, as if we have spent enough time immersed in our private matters with Cancer, and now we will feel like being good company and share some fun. Our tastes might become more lavish, and we will expect more for our money, because we are worth it after all. The danger here, apart from overspending, of course, is a sense of entitlement, of self-aggrandizement. As long as we're only looking for a good time, there's nothing wrong with that. But we shouldn't start behaving like spoiled kids and expect to have every whim, attended to. Jupiter in Leo can certainly make some people that are bent this way anyway go overboard. In its movement from Cancer to Leo, Jupiter will form once more the trine to Saturn and Neptune that he already has formed actually this year. It will also form a sextile to Uranus and an opposition to Pluto, all happening around the summer months. In fact, there will be this beautiful cradle configuration in July that is formed by Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. That is a wonderful omen for next summer. The cradle includes only harmonious aspects, and that are united by an opposition. And it's like the benefic effects of Jupiter are amplified, by the electric energy of Uranus, the soft inspiration of Neptune, and the powerful grasp of Pluto. This can be a time of major breakthroughs. We would be well advised to make the most of this extraordinary time around July and not waste an exceptional opportunity. At that time, things will probably flow quite smoothly, and it might be deceptive, because we might be lulled into a sense that it will always be like that. So why even bother to try to exert ourselves? And this is often actually the case with Jupiter, that things are getting so comfortable, that we don't even bother to take action because we are so well satisfied. Except that these times are precisely when we should exert ourselves to make progress. So you are warned. The trine that Jupiter will make with Saturn, occurring late August, will cement this favorable state of affairs and help translate potential into reality. At that moment, we will have resources well in hand, and we will have the means at our disposition and the motivation to attain our goals. Well, let's talk now about something else, about Chiron. Well, that while spending most of the next year still in Aries, will exit it for Taurus at the very end of December. So Aries at the end of 2026 can breathe a sigh of relief after quite a few years of being put to the test and sometimes performing below expectations, as is always the case with Chiron. Chiron represents a wound that never heals, it's the wounded healer. Our Achilles heel, if I may mix up mythological figures. The part in us that is vulnerable and aching, that which are also ashamed of. Chiron transits keep exposing precisely that side of us that we would rather keep quiet about. Aries has felt inordinately fragile for all these years with Chiron in their sign. Maybe they learned the lesson in humility and self-acceptance. The lesson will have lasted an exceptionally long time because Chiron can be quite speedy in some signs and quite slow in others, and in Aries it has been real slow. So this is a maturation process, and Aries will emerge at the end of 2026 somewhat shaky perhaps, but with better self-knowledge, perhaps a bit less naive, and I can say that because I'm an Aries myself, and capable of more empathy. Now in 2026, as every year, we will witness 4 eclipses, 2 solar eclipses and 2 lunar eclipses. They go in pairs. An eclipse occurs each time when the new moon or full moon is happening close to the nodal axis. And this happens at 6 months distance, twice every year. The first solar eclipse is occurring on the 17th of February at 28 degrees of Aquarius, and it will be in a square position to Uranus. So this happens in a fixed sign that is concerned with utopias, large ideas regarding the welfare of humanity, living together as a community, or simply just friendship, With the square to Uranus, there might be disruption in these areas, possibly because revolutionary ideas with Uranus are in the air. The status quo is changing abruptly, and that can create quite a bit of anxiety. Uranus always catches us unawares. We might try to prepare for it, but it never turns out the way we expect. Technology might progress by leaps and bounds with Aquarius and Uranus and lead to a significant breakthrough. In this case, revolution will manifest through technology, that is for sure. If there is such a thing as alien life, for instance, and if there is a hope of making contact, now seems as good a time as any. Especially as Mercury, on the other hand, will be trining Jupiter at the same time, so communication is favored. Venus will be conjunct the North Node as well, so meeting a new partner or starting a new significant relationship is in the cards. This eclipse is also conjunct the North Node, so this period of time will bring new circumstances. With the North Node, it's always about the new, and new people in our lives. We have to be open and embrace the new, as it will put an end to the stagnancy that we might have been feeling. It is an antidote to feeling stuck, which could have been part and parcel of the famous Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Okay, so eclipses each belong to a Saros series. So each series has a beginning and an end. So according to the birth chart of each Saros series, so to speak, one may assign specific qualities to each eclipse. So actually, Bernadette Brady, who is a famous Australian astrologer, has written a book actually about it, and quoting from her book, this specific eclipse happening in February 2026 is supposed to bring a strong emphasis on communication. Frustrating or inhibiting events may come in one's life through the news, paperwork, or a young person. We might feel tired and drained, and we should take it just one difficulty at a time. So all this is because Saturn and Neptune are figuring strongly in the birth chart of this Saros series. And let's remember that this eclipse is also occurring extremely close to the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that is currently taking place, which repeats the theme that presided over the birth of the series. So this is followed 2 weeks afterwards by a lunar eclipse on the 3rd of March at 12 degrees of Virgo. Actually, it's an axis, so Virgo Pisces, conjunct the South Node this time. So this is clearly a time of letting go. This is a crisis, because it's a full moon, concerning a thing, person, notion from the past with the South Node that needs to be relinquished. And doing so will feel liberating, even exhilarating, because this lunar eclipse is sextile Jupiter. New developments in our love lives will feel refresh and rejuvenating, because at this time Venus will be sextiling Uranus. The next solar eclipse is occurring on the 12th of August at 20 degrees of Leo. It doesn't form any aspect itself, except for a wide trine to Saturn. So in comparison to the previous eclipse, this one will feel stabilizing. We will be reinforcing our position and status and build on our assets. It will be conjunct the South Node. So this new beginning, because it is a new beginning, it's a new moon, it starts from a familiar background with the South Node and is resting upon an already sound foundation. We have also at the same time an air grand trine, that is Venus, Jupiter, Pluto, and Uranus. And this is actually a kite, because there is also this Venus-Neptune opposition. So the time is ripe for pleasant exchanges in romantic matters, exchanges that are not only pleasant, but can go deep with Pluto, and all the while being aimed at the future with Uranus. We feel that there is a potential there in relationships for more happiness, more joy, a sense of adventure and excitement in togetherness. This can also be simply good luck, smiling on us, having the time of our life during doing our hobby, our favorite hobby, or this can mean new ideas and financial prosperity. In fact, this is a kite, as I said, and the Venus-Neptune opposition is speaking of romantic longing, the longing to escape prosaic routine through romance. Yes, love is in the air, but try not to get too carried away with your imagination, because with Neptune, this can be a slippery slope that can lead to a crash, just saying, It's always good to keep to your common sense with Neptune transits. What does Bernadette Brady have to say about this eclipse? So, this seems to be about breaking out of a very negative situation where no hope can be seen to a more positive space containing many options. A worry will suddenly clear. Okay, so indeed, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that I keep going on about will be over by then, and with that nice configuration, cradle configuration I was speaking about before, probably the future looks brighter. As I said, options seems to spring out of nowhere with this aspect to Venus, so gratifying opportunities everywhere. So we should be proactive about it, especially with this wonderful configuration of heavy planets in August, which is a rare opportunity to establish conditions for real long-term happiness for ourselves. The final eclipse of the year is a lunar eclipse on the 28th of August, occurring at almost 5 degrees of Pisces Virgo, the axis. This lunar eclipse is conjunct the North Node, and squaring Uranus, so therefore it repeats the theme of the first solar eclipse of the year. We start and end in this Uranian electric atmosphere of anything can happen. It is a culmination, because it is a full moon, regarding progress, making a forced entry in our lives because of this square to Uranus. This is a challenging aspect. It is also opposing Mercury, so news and discussion around this new state of things are widespread. The whole point with this is to stay clear-headed about it and sort out true from fake info, because there is also this Sun-Mercury is making a quincunx to Neptune. Fortunately, Jupiter is still also trining Saturn, and the situation looks quite healthy and stable, so that we can proceed with confidence and in the direction chosen at the first solar eclipse of the year. All the more so as this lunar eclipse is also trining Mars, so we will be energized to accomplish our goals and go after what we want. All in all, 2026 looks like a year of two halves. The first one will be deeply marked by the Saturn-Neptune conjunction and the February eclipse, and it is more a time of reckoning, taking stock of the situation, and daring to move forward after a time of disillusionment, weariness, and slow progress. The second half, with Jupiter in Leo, that is boosted by the harmonious aspects to the other outer planets, and with the second eclipse in Leo also, is all about letting our light shine again, partake in the joys of life in anticipation of a radical new start. So in the next video, I will discuss in more detail how each sign is going to fare in 2026. We will look at how each of these planetary configurations are affecting each sign. So I invite you all not to miss the next video, and till then I wish you all a happy holidays and a merry end of December. So take care and bye-bye.